Hello and welcome to Slow Pit Stop, the international Formula One podcast by fans for fans all around the world. My name's Arafat, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Mohammed. Say hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed.
Mohammed, I have a game for you before we even start anything.
Oh boy. Okay, I'm excited.
So, it's only 4 questions. As you know, the big talking point of this week is going to be Oscar Piastri,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have 4 films, and I want you to tell me which of these films is older than Piastri and which of these are younger than Piastri.
Oh my goodness. Lucky for you, I recently looked up how old he is
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to see how much younger Ollie Behrman and Franco Colapinto were.
Yeah.
So maybe I can get this right. Okay, let's go.
Okay. First up, the first Harry Potter film.
I think that must have been. So I'm pretty sure he's like 2000. Piastri, I think is 2003. Because he is 2003 and it's 2024. That would make him 21. No, that's too old. I think he must be 2001. So if he's 2001, the first Harry Potter movie would have come out around the same time. I
It's
don't
almost like I
know.
did that on purpose.
Don't know. That would have been a summer release of a movie. And I have to think about when was his birthday. Oh, it would have been
He's
a
an oldest
winter
child.
movie.
So when were all oldest children born?
I
Generally,
don't know. In the summer.
April.
Okay, so
Summer wedding, April baby.
I'm gonna say it's only a couple months younger than him. I'm gonna say Harry Potter came out in the winter.
Yeah, it came out in November, so he is older than Harry Potter. Next
By a
one,
couple months. But say, was it the year right though? 2001.
yeah,
Yes,
Chris
that was so good.
Nolan's Memento.
Oh god. Chris Nolan's Memento had already come out by the time The Prestige came out, which came out before The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. Batman Begins was 2006 because The Dark Knight was 2008, which means The Prestige must have been earlier than that, maybe 2004. So Memento must have been really early 2000s. It could have been 2002. It could have been 2000. I'm going to roll the dice and say 2002 and say it's younger than him.
It's older than him. It's March 2001.
Oh, I was off by a year.
Okay. The next one, which surprised me, Fast and Furious.
The first one? Which
Yeah,
one?
the first one.
This is a tough one, man. When did Tokyo Drift come out? Tokyo Drift, I think, was like 2006, and that was the third movie in the installment, and they roughly make them every 2-ish years. Now there's like one every year, but back then it was roughly like 2 every years. Fast and Furious 5, when did that come out? So I can extrapolate. I can't remember when that came out. So I'm going to go ahead and say that must have been also roughly 2002. So I'm going to say, no, it must have been the first Fast and Furious was when they were still doing, when he was an FBI agent. That must have been like 2000, 2001 early. I'm going to say he is younger than the first Fast and Furious movie.
So he's older.
Oh my
Fast and
God.
Furious came out in June.
Of the same year, 2001?
Yeah. All
I
of these
just
are
keep
the same
getting
year.
the months wrong. Oh, they're all the same year?
Yeah.
I'm spending
my-
all this brain effort to figure out what year the movie came out in.
Okay. Is Oscar Piastri older or younger than Shrek?
Somebody once told me the world is gonna hurt.
Papaya rules don't make any sense.
How early in 2001 did that movie come out? I remember watching it in the summer. I'm gonna say he is older than it.
Yeah, he's older by a month. Can you believe that?
Yes.
But
That's actually wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's essentially the same age as Shrek, The Fast and Furious, Spy Kids, Memento, The Mummy Returns.
So that doesn't really work for me because all those movies I view as having come out like a while ago. Like they're not recent movies to me, but it is crazy that he was being born when I was watching those movies as a kid, and I have memories, and he wasn't even born yet. That's what's crazy to me.
But yeah, like I was like in high school at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
Fine. So, what are we going to talk about today? Let's talk about. Uh,
Was there a race?
there was a
Huh,
race. It
I
was in
always ask
Baku.
that. I literally,
Let's talk
for a
about.
Formula One podcast, I'm very ill informed of what race happened and what race is going to
Is going to
happen.
happen. Well, I know it's
Yeah,
Singapore,
yeah, I know that. Yeah.
but uh, what was I going to say? Yeah.
Let's talk
So
about it.
Baku
Baku.
happened. Let's talk about McLaren. Let's talk about Williams. Let's talk about Lewis Hamilton. Um, and then let's talk about flexible wings. What do you want to start with?
I don't know. You take your pick. And all of it was a really kind of a blur to me because it was so
Yeah.
early. It was at like 7 a.m.
Oh,
And why do I need to wake up at 7 a.m.? And I feel bad because my nephew had to wake up at 6 a.m. And anyone in California would have had to wake up at 4 a.m.
jeez.
4 a.m., you guys? I mean, come on. Like, this is insane.
I had a
So I
really
can't
good
really
time.
remember.
I got to watch it all. My son was asleep for the whole thing. Um, it was a great time. So let's talk
Was
about.
that the race that you watched on your phone propped up on your kitchen counter? Or is that a
That's how
different
I watch
race?
every race nowadays.
Nice, okay.
So my daughter takes the main TV, which is here, and she sits and watches Miss Rachel or whatever she wants to watch. And then in the kitchen on my old phone, like it's not even my current phone, it's my old phone. My old phone, the only time it switches on is on a Sunday, so I can put the race on. I sit there in the kitchen. This is why I went to med school. So that I could buy a big expensive TV so that Miss Rachel could dominate it.
You know, this is
Um,
such a parent thing to do, and I'm so happy I'm not a parent, so I can enjoy my big flat screen TV and watch my race on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed this race. I thought it was really good.
Really? Okay, hold on. What would you rank it out of 10?
The race,
Yeah.
give it an 8.
What? Okay, so a lot of people have been saying this race has been really good, and I saw Spanners from Missed Apex said it should be race of the season, but I would call it a 6 out of 10. I thought the only redeeming factor was waiting to see whether Leclerc just that like initial part when he first made that lunge. I thought that was
Mm,
exciting.
mm.
And then the crash at the end was pretty good, and I think those two lifted it in my head from a 4 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10, and I just don't
Mm.
know. I don't get the appeal.
So in my mind, the way I'm rating things, 10 out of 10 is a what I think is like you've watched something that you know this is a classic. Like
Mm,
people are going to be watching this and talking about this for years.
mm-hmm.
9 out of 10, epic Lewis win.
Okay.
This race, I thought it was really, really enjoyable. The way Piastri defended that whole time for essentially half a race.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, the way Leclerc never gave up and he
Mm-hmm.
kept going and going and going, and literally drove the tires off that car
Mm-hmm.
to the point where he was just slowing down and he lost completely because. But in my mind, I was like, this isn't a guy that's taking it easy, trying to wait for this particular moment, and then he's like been going flat out the whole
Mm-hmm.
time and worn his tires out 2 laps before the end. Um, and you've seen that slow mo shot of both of them sliding over the curb.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was one of those races where you just admire it for the incredible skill that the
Okay.
drivers were displaying. That's
I
what I
think
was really impressed by.
I think anytime you're at a street circuit, there's incredible skill being involved. The reason I put it at 6 out of 10 is because I really think Piastri had it won once he covered off Leclerc's first lunge. Because I mean, there's not really a lot of ways that you can win or you can overtake in Baku. Because have you
But
looked
I
at
think it's
this?
such a big straight. I think it is one that you can overtake at. I
But
think the way he defended. I think obviously McLaren's car helped with straight line speed. I think a lot of things helped, and we'll come on to that. But I remember a point in time where someone was going fast and there was a car ahead, and you'd think, okay, if there's maybe 10 laps to the end, this will be a 50-50 race. If there's 5 laps to the end, the car in front probably has it.
hmm,
And if there's like here where there was like 30 laps, you'd be like,
hmm,
the car in front is never going to be able to defend for that
for
long.
that long.
And the
But I feel
way
like, can
Piastri
you
kept
really
defending,
overtake in Azerbaijan though? Can you really
yes,
like?
this straight is like the runway from that Fast and Furious 7 or whatever it was. It just goes on for like 23 miles or something. That's straight. You can well overtake at the end of it.
Okay, fine. Okay. So the reason I ranked it low is, well, I thought it was a 10 out of 10 race from Oscar Piastri, well
Yeah,
deserved. Driver of the day. I thought I don't I don't think Leclerc was underrated either. I think he performed admirably, but I just thought that once Piastri took the lead, I just thought that
yeah.
was it for him. I never ever thought Leclerc was going
I
to take
think
it
I
back.
think the rating I'm not giving based on the result. There's some races where like, wow, that was an incredible, lunge for victory in the last
Hmm.
lap. You think about, Singapore where Carlos Sainz won and anything could have
Hmm.
happened right on the last lap. It was really anxious. Whereas this, you knew a few laps before the end who was going to win,
Hmm.
but it was the skill of Piastri and Leclerc
Hmm.
lap after lap after lap that really made the race for me.
Yeah.
Just watching that again and again and again, I was like,
Yeah.
these guys are insane. I don't know how they do that. And the fact
All
that
right.
that's why I started this episode talking about Piastri's age,
Mm-hmm.
because for him to be able to absorb that pressure,
Hmm.
know when to defend, and more importantly, know when to not defend, have the
Hmm.
confidence to go, actually, Leclerc's too far back. There's no point in me compromising my line here. And then sliding the car around like that. That's why I'm so impressed that he was born, you know, in
Now,
2001. He's such
yeah,
a young person and
yeah.
so mature in his racing. That's what really impressed me.
Now that you've seen that race, let me ask you this: rank these four drivers. Five. Rank these five drivers: Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris,
Mm,
George Russell, Charles
mm.
Leclerc, and Alex Albon. From most likely to win a championship to they will never win a championship, assuming they're in the best car.
Yeah. So Piastri,
Okay.
Leclerc. You said Lando and Albon. Someone
Yeah.
else. Who's the fifth
Um.
one?
George Russell.
Okay. It's really hard. Who do you put in fifth? Lando or George? So Albon is third, right, by default.
Okay,
I
but
think
devil's
Piastri.
advocate, Albin
Yeah.
already bottled it in a fast car.
Yeah. So I think Leclerc has form from 2019. Like when he's in a fast car, he can do well.
Mm,
Um, Piastri, I think, is on an upward trajectory. He scored the most points in the last
mm-hmm,
5 races, 6 races, 7 races, 8 races.
mm-hmm,
You keep going back, 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 and he's the
mm-hmm,
top point scorer since then. Um, I think it's a shame he had like a messy first part of his season. Otherwise, he would be the one we're talking about in the
mm-hmm,
championship race.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna go Lando 4,
George
George 5.
five. Yeah, I see. I kind of agree with you. I think what this race showed me, and again, I ranked it 6 out of 10, but that's not. I wasn't ranking Oscar 6 out of 10. I ranked him a proper solid 10 out of 10. That was a magnificent drive, and what it showed me is somebody from this class of drivers. The A tier, you could say. I know we didn't rank them all A tier, but you could call them the A tier. One of them has it in them to actually win a championship, because I had lost hope. Okay, I thought Charles Leclerc could win a championship, but then when I saw in 2022 him completely bottle it, I was like, you know what, it's not him. And then it wasn't just that. Later on in other races I saw him make mistakes, and I was like, he's not the one to challenge Verstappen or whoever the dominant car is and win a championship. Then I thought maybe, okay, Lando, he just needs a good car. And this year has shown me that he's going to bottle it. Like, when you need to put the car on pole position, you cannot afford to make a mistake in Q1. These are not mistakes that you see Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen make, right? Like, when you go back to 2021, there was never a time when there's like Max is out in Q1. The mistakes happened in the race, accidents, crashes, but they never made mistakes like that. And you just Lando he's a bottle job, so he cannot make mistakes like that. And then George Russell, we've talked about a lot, bottles things very often, and the universe seems to keep on rewarding him with free wins and free podiums. It's very frustrating. And then Alex, I don't know where he ranks in there, but yeah, I think Oscar, now I've seen it, is cool under pressure and would not bottle it if he was under the pressure chasing a championship.
I feel the last few races
Mm.
we've been talking a lot about lose like bottling it. You just mentioned it twice. We've said it a lot that phrase in reference
Yeah.
to George Russell
Yes.
and Lando Norris, bottle merchant, blah blah blah. So I've looked up where did that phrase come from.
We don't use it in America, so for me, it's a Formula One phrase. But continue.
Yeah. Do you know much about Cockney rhyming slang?
Oh yeah, that's like where I got my master's degree in Cockney rhyming slang. Actually,
But like the concept. Do you know the concept?
no, actually, I don't.
So it's like in part of London, and they would say things that rhymed with other things, so that they couldn't get in
Oh,
trouble for the things they were saying. Initially, it was a way of like evading the police,
oh,
and then it became like
oh. I see. So instead of saying like the police suck, you'd say the police duck. I don't know.
just something like that. So,
Yeah, something more clever than that.
but it eventually, yeah. Let me Google famous examples Cockney slang.
Bottle of water.
Right. So, dog and bone is phone.
Hmm.
I'm in Barney Rubble, trouble. Bees and honey, money.
Okay.
Right. He's
Wow.
telling pork pies means he's telling lies.
Uh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So, bottle it came from um, bottle and glass, or
Hmm.
bottle of glass. And then glass rhymes with ass, arse. So it would be so you would lose your bottle, i.e., you got so scared you pooped yourself.
Okay, lose your bottle. Okay, that sort of makes sense now.
Yeah. So like you see how like pork pies equals lies,
Hmm.
and then eventually people were like, "Oh, he's telling porkies."
Okay, well,
So
we
you,
don't say that, so I'll take your word for it. Interesting. Okay, nice. This is the kind of like international globe trotting information we bring you on this episode.
yeah, it's educational. That's what we should. Next when we upload this on Spotify, we should tag it as educational
Yeah.
and not just sports.
Okay.
Um,
Yes. So Piastri, incredible win. Leclerc, good to fight for the championship. Do
yeah,
you think he's better than 2022? I always bring this up now, as the time that he screwed it all up. That's what we say in
Leclerc.
America instead of bottle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
think
I
he's
think he
better
is.
now? Hmm.
I think he's growing. He's getting better and better and better. Um, and like the team around him is getting better.
Yeah.
I think the McLaren team is really getting a lot better. I mean, the way they use
Hmm.
their two drivers,
Hmm.
Lando held up Perez. If Lando hadn't done that, because Perez lost a second doing that, Perez would have
Yeah.
ended up ahead of Piastri.
Yeah. Leclerc. No,
Uh,
Piastri.
yeah, Perez would have ended up because Piastri was still behind Leclerc at that point.
Oh. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Perez would have been P2 behind
Hmm.
Leclerc, and then who knows if him and Leclerc would have fought or Piastri would have
Hmm.
overtaken him again. But whatever, like that was a big moment in the race that could
Hmm.
have impacted in a lot of different ways. Um, so McLaren just executed it really, really well as a
Hmm.
team. They weren't the fastest pit stop, but they were pretty fast.
Hmm.
And it's just all those things. They're as an outfit are on the up, and they are like for the first time since 2014, top of the constructors championship.
Hmm.
And even that was just in the first race because they got two
I was gonna
podiums.
say that surprised me. I was like, when did they McLaren Honda era? They were like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just like by accident for the first race. But realistically, yeah, they've not been top of the constructors for a long, long time.
yeah.
And yeah, I hope they go on to win it. I think they deserve it.
Hmm.
Um, my thing would be, I would love if Piastri somehow, like I know it's mathematically crazy, like Verstappen would have to DNF every race from now to the end.
Yeah.
But if Piastri somehow won the drivers' championship as well, um,
Wouldn't happen this year.
it wouldn't happen. No, I think Verstappen, something very unusual would have to happen for Verstappen to lose it.
But you said if Piastri had a cleaner first half of the year, he would be the one in the running. Can you imagine if he was the one in the running and not Lando? Can you imagine
Yeah,
Lando's frustration?
yeah. Do you know what this year reminds me of a little bit?
What?
2009,
Mm.
like Jensen Button and Braun dominated the first half of that year.
Yeah.
Then everybody outdeveloped, and Red Bull were like the team of the second half of the year,
Mm.
and that was their like launching pad for the Vettel
Mm.
era. So I'm wondering what does all of this mean for McLaren
McLaren.
next year?
I would agree with you, but it looks like there's a rule change coming. That they're
No, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So just for next year, not for like 4 or 5
yeah, yeah.
years,
Oh, for
but
next
for
year.
next year. Yeah.
Oh, for next year, it's okay. So next year is gonna be. I was gonna ask you this question at the end of the episode, but if the Ferrari is competitive, and if the
Mm.
McLaren is the car to beat next year, and there's no number two drivers at either of those teams, what happens at the top four of the championship between Lando, Oscar, Lewis, and Charles Leclerc?
It's very tricky. Obviously, we want Lewis to be champion,
Yeah,
but you have that thing of saying he's going into a new team. He needs
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I would say a McLaren driver is the favorite.
Mm,
Which one I don't know.
mm-hmm.
And then I would put Leclerc and Lewis to finish P3 and P4 in the championship.
Oh, really?
Um,
You don't think one of them could take the P2 spot from, let's say Oscar is leading the championship. You don't think Lewis can sneak the P2 off of Lando? I think he
he
could.
might do, yeah. Like the seasons now
Yeah.
have like 4,000 races in them. So by the time you get to the end, so many different things could happen.
You know,
I
I
had an
figured it
idea
out.
the other day
Okay.
that it was just an idea. It's clearly a bad one, but I was like, we should do this. You know how every season someone starts the season really well and then everyone sort of stabilizes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you have a competition, but by that point someone's already built up a big lead.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking the first 4 races of the year
Mm-hmm.
should be non-championship races.
The why are we racing?
Why not? It used to be a thing in the past. There was loads of non-championship races. The prize money was less or whatever. But if we have 4 non-championship races, it's basically testing for the main season. And we could
I like
rotate
the
races in
idea
and
of
out.
more testing. They would do it for more testing, I guess.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're basically test races, right?
Yeah. But then like you would just see that, dominance just get delayed by four races.
No, but by that point, if because like this year, for example, Verstappen won loads at the beginning, and then by the time everyone else sorted themselves out, there was a competition.
Yeah.
But Verstappen had built up a huge lead at the beginning because people were sorting out the reliability issues, blah
Mm,
blah blah, of the new cars.
fair.
So if you give people a few races to like get over their issues
Mm-hmm.
and then have a competition. I know there's a lot of like commercial reasons why this could never happen. It was just a thing I was
Well, I
thinking.
don't even know if commercial reasons would get in the middle of it because they would still air the races and all the sponsors would get their airtime. It would just
Yeah,
be that the teams would have to recognize they're not getting any points
yeah,
for the first four races, and any accidents that happen are happening like without any benefit for them except for testing time.
yeah. Maybe you could
Yeah.
be like in these races. Do you know what I would do? This is like going proper out there now. So your 2 drivers of the 4 races, they can only race in 2 of them. So you have to give your test drivers some race time as well.
That's good because then you can bring in some F2 people and give
Yeah,
them some time, and we could watch the Ollie Behrmans and the Franco Colapintos and the
yeah,
Jack Doohans and the Liam Lawsons all race.
exactly.
Which I'm hearing now, Liam Lawson is going to get announced at VCarb. I don't know how true that is, but
Yeah,
I'm
I feel
hearing he
bad
has a
for
seat.
Ricardo. He's
Is
lost
it
his
Ricardo
seat.
or Sonoda? Neither of them have contracts, right? Or no?
Shinoda has a contract,
Danny Rick! D
so it'll
for
be Danny Rick
Danny.
goes.
D for Danny.
But for his big move from VCarb, he's apparently going to be appearing on that Huck 2 Girls podcast.
Oh my god.
So that's where his next seat is. Yeah, she has a podcast now. It's called Talk to.
I guarantee you she probably has like 15,000 times as many listeners as we do.
Oh yeah,
Oh my god, that's crazy. Danny Ricardo's going to be on it. Oh my
yeah.
god. He could honestly just retire and do press, and he could be like, who did that? Who just like has been doing media stuff? Like Nico, I guess. Nico, but more commercial. Like Danny Ricardo could do
No,
that.
I'd say not the same, but a different version of David Coulthard. Because David Coulthard went straight into media stuff, but
Yeah.
his personality is different to Ricardo.
Mm-hmm.
But
But more commercial. Like Coulthard doesn't do a crazy amount of commercial stuff, but he did do a lot of media press stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Ricardo could really just do that. I mean, he's had his moment. We've discussed this. I've There's younger drivers that need to come in, and the
yeah.
old ones have to go. However, I did see something really interesting. Speaking of older drivers, because as we were watching the race, so many people on Twitter wanted there to be an accident that when we had one on the last lap, it was almost like precision. But
Mm.
somebody else said, with Logan Sargent gone, we've now removed all of the drivers who would unnecessarily cause crashes.
Yeah,
And it's like you said, this is probably the strongest field we've had ever, maybe in Formula One. This might be the
yeah,
strongest year of
definitely.
Formula One.
I
Who,
think
I
so.
mean, our weak links are like K
Stroll.
Mag, Stroll. Yeah. And yes, they're weak, but they're still like solid
Competitor, yeah.
drivers. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're competitive. Yeah,
They get the
exactly.
job done.
Yeah, they're weak because they're not like we don't expect them to perform above
To win. Yeah.
expectations. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
So
they don't perform below expectation.
exactly. Yeah, Stroll is never like P20 when Alonso is P5. That
Yeah.
never happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's a wild time. What do you make of this? What do you make of the accident? Whose fault do you think? I've seen it like far. So when I was first watching it, it
Mm.
really looked like Science just steered into Perez,
Yeah.
and I like just steered into him and then rammed him into the wall. But then like both of their radios are so funny. Science is the best, where he's just like, "What happened?
Yeah.
What What happened? Are you okay? Yeah." But what happened? Like, was there like a magnet? Like they just brought it in? Like I don't
The way he
understand.
turned so quick, I was like, oh, Perez has hit the back of his back wheel
Mm,
and spun his entire car. So my initial reaction was Perez is at fault here.
mm,
And then the more you watch it, the more you realize, like, Carlos Sainz is just kept on the normal racing line,
mm-hmm,
and he's not turned his wheel left, right, anything. He's just
mm-hmm,
straight on the normal line. People are like, oh, he's drifted away from the wall.
mm,
But that drift away from the wall is the normal racing line.
yeah,
And they said that in the steward's decision, the GPS, blah, 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 showed that he was
mm,
essentially on where he normally is. And then Perez was headed towards the normal racing line as well, but from a slightly different position. And I think, yeah, it is. The stewards got it right. It's a racing incident.
the whole time I kept thinking, what if Oscar crashes into Leclerc? Oh my god, that would be crazy.
Oh,
And then
wow.
finally, when their race basically comes to an end because Leclerc's, and then it's like the next two drivers who are trying to
Yeah,
make, and they immediately crash. But we haven't had a safety car in a while, so I feel like we needed a safety car. I was
yeah.
disappointed that we didn't have one.
I Yeah, it would have been nice to see signs on the podium, but oh well.
What? How does this balance out? George Russell being gifted a podium he absolutely did not earn,
Hmm.
versus Lewis Hamilton getting gifted 2 points when he started from the pit lane and had a pretty terrible race.
So the Lewis point's irrelevant. Um, the podium for George annoys me more, but I really love that. Like, despite getting a podium, George Russell was furious at the tires. He was like criticizing Pirelli, and he's like all frustrated. So that's nice. What was I going to say? What do you make of Perez before the crash finishing, or would have finished higher than Verstappen?
Yeah, everybody was saying before the race, not everybody, like the commentators were saying before the race that, oh, Perez comes alive in Azerbaijan. He's always done well here. But I didn't expect him to click just that well. And it really goes to tell you, I think, how much confidence can increase your driving ability. I
Yeah.
think the track is probably good for him. For some reason, he's good at street tracks. He probably saw that he's better than Verstappen here. It's probably the first burst of hope he's had all season, and he
Mm.
just ran with it. And he kind of got back to, like, I would have said if he had finished third, I would have said he outperformed the car, and he stole
Mm.
a position from Sainz or somebody
Yeah.
else. Um, and so I think he had that burst of confidence and he ran with it, and it kind of goes to tell you like what could have been with him if the
Yeah.
car had come to him sooner in the year, if he had managed to make it work sooner.
Did you
What could
see
have
Christian
happened?
Horner's comments that are going around the internet?
No, what did he say this time?
He was like, we've traced back the development problem all the way to Barcelona, which is when not Sainz,
Perez.
Perez started having trouble, but we kind of ignored his feedback because Max was still winning, so we thought it's fine. But now that
Hmm.
like developmental thread has come and haunted Verstappen as well.
So are you saying Verstappen truly was out driving his car to win?
Yeah, so that's what Horner's saying. Horner's like, we've traced
Hmm.
it back. The thing that's wrong with the car, it started in Barcelona.
Hmm.
Perez immediately was struggling with it, but given that the other car was doing fine, we didn't really
Yeah.
take his feedback on board then.
Hmm.
So it's like, lol. That's why there's so many memes of like Toto from uh, Drive to Survive being like, yeah, that with his hand.
I
I
have
have
it.
it.
I have
I
it
have it
printed
printed
out.
out.
Well, Checo says
So
the car is crashed.
yeah, so exactly. So they should have listened to him a while ago. But who knows? Who knows?
All right. The last thing we have to discuss, probably the biggest thing on the internet right now, is what happens when you take a cap like this and you just flex it, just a tiny, just flex it. You know what happens?
Okay, so this is I've been thinking about this, the whole McLaren flexi wing thing. So at high speed, the wing is being pulled back. It's opening up the DRS slot and therefore giving them a higher top speed,
Hmm.
reducing drag. Um, People are like, "Oh, it goes against the spirit of the rules," but there's no such thing as the spirit of the rules. It's either a
Ooh,
rule or it's not a rule.
strong
So
words.
yeah, and I've been thinking about this a lot.
Okay.
What would my position be? And I
Yeah.
think actually, this sort of innovation and rule bending is just part of Formula One,
Hmm.
and for fans, it's part of the fun. If this was Lewis Hamilton winning right now with that innovation, I would be like, "This is the most correct thing ever. It's passed all the tests, therefore it's
Yeah.
legal. How can you debate this?"
Yeah.
And if it was Max Verstappen winning and Lewis losing, I'd be like, "This goes against the spirit of the rules. Where is your sportsmanship?" And I think, if you're just like having a go at your friends that support the other team, like it's fun to like get angry about things that aren't actually important.
Hmm.
Like ultimately it's for the rule makers and it's for them to decide, are they going to let everyone do this, ban it straight away, or ban it at the end of the season? And I'm sort of growing towards the position of, if someone's innovated something, you should let them have the advantage, ban it at the end of the season like they did with
Hmm.
Das and whatever at the F duck, unless it's a safety concern, in which case ban it straight away. um, but yeah, I think as long as you don't get too angry about it, because there's people online getting so upset with each other, and it's like, chill out. Like, I think sometimes when people like associate with the team, they're like, this team, we are the good guys,
Hmm.
and that team, usually Red Bull, are the bad guys. And my team represents hope and goodness and all that is good in the world, and their team represents all that is evil. And it's like, what we need to remember is they're all quite rich, um, like they're all bad, basically, right? They're
Except
all
Lewis
bad, and we've
Hamilton.
just picked the one that entertains us the most. And it's fun to have a go at your friends and be like, "This is legal. This is illegal. This is legal. This is," and like genuinely, if the team was a different team, like my opinion on it could flip, just because it's like you're supporting your team or the other team. It's like in football, if your striker kicks someone, you're like, no, 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 that was a
Hmm.
legitimate tackle. Whereas if it happens to your team, you're like, that guy's dangerous. He shouldn't be playing. Blah blah blah. It's part of the fun of the sport.
Hmm.
It's part of just like, it doesn't matter, but we like to gossip and rant, and that sort of gossiping and having a go at your friends.
Hmm.
That's like the sort of communal bonding from
Hmm.
sport that we all get. So have fun, make fun of your friends right now, especially if they're Red Bull supporters. But
Hmm.
remember, they are still your friends at the end of the day.
Here's what I'll say. I have always felt, and I think you'll find me consistent for at least whenever Red Bull was winning, that if some team has an advantage, there should be a rule change to bring the teams back close together. Because
Hmm.
I'm in favor of close racing,
Yeah,
and you've been very consistent since even 2020 that if a team has innovation, they should allow it to stay until the end of the year. You've said that a lot.
yeah,
I think that right now there's no definitive proof that this is truly giving McLaren the edge. I mean, what
yeah,
if it was Red Bull losing their brake limiter, reductor,
yeah,
brake
yeah.
thing? We don't know. But if we see that even going into next year, it's still flexing and they're still the absolute dominant team. I think the FIA should institute rule changes to stop it. But I think let the teams win a couple races. Let them pull ahead, let it even out, and then when you even it out, and one other team suddenly gets up, you even them out, and then just keep
Mm.
evening it out, keep throwing out rules to slow people down. I want a rule to slow down Haas, you know,
Just a random
a
one.
random rule. Haas may only have one driver. Only Haas can
But
do
they
it.
have to drive both cars.
He's gonna get out of the car, get in the other car,
Yeah,
do a couple of
like
laps, get out of
Formula
the
E
car.
style. Do you remember that in Formula E when they used to jump out the car and
Amazing.
run to the other one?
I know because they couldn't charge it. That's amazing.
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Just have shorter races anyway.
I think if they wanted to do strategy so you could, like I guess it would be boring. I don't know. But then those
Yeah.
cars like race pretty closely too, is because
Now it's good. Yeah, well,
yeah,
good, better. I think what they've done with the technology is impressive.
supercharging
Um,
in like 2 minutes.
no, they don't charge. They just have a battery that lasts till the end.
Oh. I have not seen a single Formula E race ever since they moved their network, and now it's like hard to watch it in America. It's like
Yeah, but
to
it
get
comes on
some
YouTube.
special
I
thing.
think you can watch them on
Oh,
YouTube, like
so
live.
clearly I just don't care.
You just don't care. Right. So
But
we,
yeah, that's our race. We'll be at Singapore. Singapore, which has had so many iconic moments. Like I was just thinking about it between the 2018 Lewis Hamilton pole, the 2017 everybody crashing to gift Lewis the win miraculously. Between
yeah,
I think 2019, I'm a real athlete, sweat, kerker, kiki, rah rah.
yeah.
2023, George Russell, and they can hear the screams of the fans, crashes into the wall to gift Lewis a podium. Singapore is the gift that just keeps giving. I'm excited for it.
It's everything that Monaco wishes it was.
Yeah.
Monaco's like, what was it? Someone described it as Monaco's like Singapore's the like hot new supermodel on the scene, and Monaco is like the old lady that's still wearing like the pearls and this and that, and like thinks they're still with it, but they're not with it.
Monaco just needs one overtaking spot. Like Singapore has, you can't really overtake, but there's like one spot, turn one, that you can overtake. If Monaco had one solid overtaking spot, it would be just so much better.
Mm. The
Yeah.
cars are too big for Monaco now.
Yeah. They need to race in dune buggies.
Yeah, they need to go kart it or something.
Formula 2 cars for one
Yeah,
race.
yeah. They should.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on our review of the Azerbaijan
How much
Grand
battery do you
Prix.
have left? Both of us are playing battery roulette. I'm on 3%.
7%.
Oh, I'm on 3.
All right, before my laptop dies and our laptop dies, bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.